All right. Well, on a similar topic, our next question was sent into CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Carlos in Jacksonville. Jim, what are your thoughts?
Wait a minute. Is that just an alias for Charlie in Starkville?
I don't think Charlie has any reason to use an alias, and we'll have a couple questions from him, I'm sure, later on, and it'll be under his real name. I'm sure we will. Yeah. What are your thoughts on AEW's statistics and rankings? And also, what are your thoughts on the statistics resetting for 2020? I guess for a new year would be.
Yeah, for a new year. Well, that's one way to get them out of the fucking horrible position they painted themselves into. But Tony Khan's the statistics guy, and talking, and even the description and of the show that's on my cable system, right? A new wrestling league that incorporates analytics and sporting statistics into the sport. Yes, I swear to God.
I did not see that.
That's not word for word, but ask Travis Bickle. He's probably got Spectrum cable, but it's on the guide. It's a new league. It's either that. Sometimes they say a new league featuring Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, whoopee, or a new league that introduces analytics and statistics to the sport. Like this would be a new thing to have win and losses and shit, because that's all they got to go on. But that's what they sold us. So I'm not knocking All Elite Wrestling when I say that you sold us a sports-based presentation. And that involves two guys that are supposed to hate each other, obviously cooperating and shit to allow each other to hit the other one, like we talked about on the program yesterday. Or Tony Khan's a statistics and analytics guy, and this was his idea, and he thought it would work, and they humored him. And, the smart ones, most of the guys, Jericho, Cody, the smart guys know that this is fucking ridiculous, but they gave the owner something. I gave Rick Rubin a mummy. Right? So they go, okay, well, we'll do this, Tony, because they figure we ain't going to die on this hill. But what it does is it points out the fact that nobody knows how to book a star, because I would bet you, I don't know if the records are accessible on the internet, but I would bet you that Jericho and Moxley and Cody are the only ones that are above 50-50, 500%, right? Now, the new year, they can start and they can try to do it right or better. But if everybody has a record, then you are telling the people flat out statistically that most of your roster is a bunch of losers, because the only way to make stars is to have them undefeated or nearly undefeated, or undefeated but with a one gripe or one fluke or whatever. That's the way you make a star. So that means that a lot of these guys are going to be losing more than they win, and it doesn't slap you in the face every time a guy comes out, if he looks good and he can perform, that he is less than 500% for his win-loss record. But if you show him that, it does kind of slap you in the face. So that's why Goldberg got over until they fucked with the record and people could figure it out, because he was winning more matches in a week than he could possibly have, right, in days in the week. But when he had a legitimate undefeated streak, the unbeaten streak always gets somebody over. And as you don't do it very often because of that. If you did, then it wouldn't get anybody over. But Goldberg got over, even though he could do 3 fucking moves and he looked like a beast. He was a horrible fucking wrestler because he was a rookie. But he looked like a beast and he could do 3 convincing moves, and that's what he did. And they smashed him over. Magnum TA when he first came to Crockett. The first year and a half, every time he wrestled on television, what did he do? He won with the belly-to-belly suplex in under 90 seconds. And Magnum, we had just worked with him in Mid-South before he went to Crockett. And Dusty anointed him with the Barry Windham spot. Magnum was green, and he'd primarily been in tag team matches. But being able to go out there in singles matches on the house shows, the untelevised shows, every night and work with Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard and Ric Flair and blah, 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 he got good real quick. But when he first went to Mid-Atlantic Wrestling, you couldn't put him on television against just a job guy or against really anybody for 10 minutes without exposing him. And you didn't want that. So Dusty was smart. I'm sure Cody obviously knows this. Every time you saw him on TV until he got in the upper mix and he was ready to carry the ball, belly to belly, 90 seconds or less, undefeated. And that's the only thing people saw, besides their house show matches. And then you could fucking give him some more time. So anyway, records matter when the guy is winning. When Ric Flair, can you imagine or the Midnight Express when we were champions? We hardly ever won when we were the World Tag Team Champions because Dusty created a world where we could lose at any minute, which is what the people wanted to see. So once we fucked the babyface in a high-profile situation and got the belts, every team we worked with, we might fuck them once, except for the Road Warriors. We never fucked them at all, but we still drew $1 million with them in one night. The Midnight would get disqualified to keep the title, or they'd get beaten in non-title matches. And then we'd go back on TV and we'd win convincingly and we'd talk our heat back. That's the way wrestling works. If they had said, when here comes the Midnight Express, the World Tag Team Champions, they lost all 7 matches they had last week. What the fuck? You fucking morons. So that's the problem. You can create stars with an undefeated or nearly unblemished record, but to do that, if you're telling everybody what the record is of everybody on your roster, most of your roster looks like a bunch of fucking losers. And if somebody had bothered to tell Tony Khan that, well, I say if somebody had bothered, he wouldn't have listened. He never listened to anything else I told him on the phone either, so why would he have listened to that? But that's what happens. And I wish somebody would show some statistics to prove me wrong about what I just said about statistics.
Well, I just pulled up actually on the AEW website.
They have it on their website.
They have the rankings for men's, women's, and tag team.
Okay, wait, don't say anything. Chris Jericho, he got beat once, didn't he? Somewhere was it a 6-man or some kind of
It must have
something?
It was either a 6. I mean, yeah, because I guess when Marco Stunt counted the pin, that wouldn't have counted. It must have been like a tag team or a 6-man, yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing it, and pardon me for not living my life around AEW wrestling ratings, but he got beat once in a gimmick, in a 6-man. Okay, that's permissible. In the old days in St. Louis, every couple of years, they'd have the world champion get beat in a tag team match, and the guy that pinned him would instantly become a contender for the world title. That's a smart use. Otherwise, I would assume Jericho is undefeated. Am I correct?
Well, let me first say that it doesn't specify here any of the wins or losses being from tag team matches. I assume some of these are, but it doesn't say that anywhere here.
Well, I think they've got an overall thing, because on their statistics on the screen, they give the guy's record, but they have an overall. So even though, and that's another thing, I just thought of that, even though they restarted the record in 2020 to try to, get somebody over, they're still showing the overall, which includes last year where they didn't know what the fuck they were doing at all. So, but there's two. There's a this year's record and there's an overall, right?
So Chris Jericho's 2020 singles record is 0-0, but his overall is 10-1-1.
Okay, 10 wins, 1 loss, one draw. He went to the time limit.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. The world champion is undefeated except for the one fucking fluky pinfall that the title wasn't on the line, and he went to a time limit draw. There you go. Now, I would have to think, well, either Cody or Moxley is next because they don't have any other stars.
The number one contender for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship is Jon Moxley with a 2020 singles record of 3 wins, no losses, and an overall record of 8-1-1.
Okay, there you go. Jon Moxley is a star. He did the one job to who did he do the job to?
I don't even remember. Who did he do a job to?
Oh, God damn it. Who won the match where him and Olivier fell off the roof? Well, anyway.
Were there any winners in that match?
No, especially not the fans. No, there were no winners there. But 8-1-1. Jon Moxley's a star. Cody hasn't done that many jobs, but it's been a couple, right? What's Cody?
Cody is actually the number 2 ranked contender. 2020 singles record 2-0. Overall 9-3-1.
Okay, that's a couple more losses probably than at this stage of the game, but we know he lost and can't challenge for the title again, and there was a couple of whatever the fuck, they made a couple mistakes. But now past that, does Olivier ever beat anybody?
Well, let me go through the rest of the top 5. It's not a top 10, it's a top 5.
Okay, wait, we're not even to Olivier yet.
Oh no, because the number 3 ranked contender for the AEW World Championship is Pac. His 2020 singles record 1-1. Overall 6-5-1.
6-5. So he's 50-50, basically.
The number 3 contender.
He has lost or drawn as many times as he's won in the whole company. Okay.
The number 4 ranked contender is Kenny Olivier, a 2020 singles record of 0-0, so no singles matches, and an overall record of 13-5.
Well, there you go.
And
okay, past that, as far as a singles, who else?
No MJF, obviously. No Darby Allin.
Well, because MJF never gets to wrestle.
The number 5 contender, and I like this guy, but when you see the record here, it's like, how is this number 5? Sammy Guevara, his 2020 singles record 2-1, his overall record 6-7. So he's below 500.
Well, there you go. And everybody else in contention for the singles championship, by inference, is worse than that.
Any guesses on, I got to do this, the women's division?
Oh, good Lord.
Obviously, Riho is the champion. She is 2-0 in 2020 and an overall record of 10-2.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. The 98-pound schoolgirl is 10, and she's got a better record than anybody else besides Jericho on the other side.
The number 1 ranked contender is Nyla Rose. 2020, that's right. That is the year. 2-1. What do you think her overall record is?
I don't remember her winning on television.
6 wins, 4 losses.
Okay, and also, and now this includes their YouTube show and their pay-per-views. They don't run house shows.
No, I think this would include any matches under the AEW banner.
Yes. But I'd love to see this, and maybe some intrepid Cult of Cornette member can do this. I'd love to see the statistics for television, because YouTube don't make a fuck. Because anybody, they have a national television show on TNT. So the best foot forward ought to be there. If these people are winning on YouTube but losing on national television, then it doesn't matter. We should see statistics for just the TV show, but go ahead. So the number 2 ranked female competitor
number one
but number 2, but number 1 ranked to the champion, who couldn't throw the 98-pound champion through a fucking table last week, is barely above 500, 6-4. Okay, very good.
With the same overall record, but a 1-1 2020 singles record, the number 2 ranked contender currently is Hikaru Shida.
Oh, lovely.
The number 3 contender, and whatever happened to her? She hasn't been on TV in a while. With a 0-1 singles record in 2020 and an overall 4-3 record is Chris Statlander.
Well, she must have gone back to the planet Zambodia.
The number 4 contender.
I heard Ray Walston finally got his ship fixed. She went back to Mars. See, that's for the elderly folks in the group.
Yes, the people who enjoyed the Robert Conrad 20-minute segment at the top of the show.
Well, hey, I was making a point.
The number 4 ranked contender with a 1-1 record in 2020 and overall 8-5. That's actually better than I thought it was going to be. Is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD.
8-5. Uh-huh.
And the number 5 contender, and I actually don't even remember seeing her in an actual match. I guess she had him with a 2020 singles record of 1-0, and I don't know if she's still there even. Overall 3-1 is Awesome Kong.
I think, didn't they just finish her up?
That's what
because she's going to do something else. But okay, so the girl they just finished up is undefeated this year and has a better record than anybody except the champion, but she just finished up. Okay, well, that makes sense.
And then I don't even know if we're going to do the tag teams, just because it doesn't actually give you, it gives you everyone's tag team record for 2020 as a unit, but it doesn't give you, like, for the overall, like, for Omega and the Hangman, who are the champions, they have different overall. Omega 13-5, Hangman Adam Page 9-7.
Oh, wait a minute. Page, that's singles, tags, that's everything. But Page they're telling everybody here, Hangman Adam Page, another guy we could be pushing, and I just realized he wasn't in the top 5 on the singles. Sammy Guevara is, but Hangman Adam Page is 9-7.
9-7. Well,
there you go. And he's a drunk, and he's unreliable. So, boy, there's a fucking star for you. And I like Adam Page. I wish that another company had been pushing him so he'd be a star by now. Hangman Adam Page is an unreliable drunk and has a record of 9-7. Boy, there's a way to make a fucking star. All right, what are these other tag team guys' individual records? Is this just the home for misfit toys where you put guys in a tag team because they never win?
But I guess the point is it shows Omega and Hangman 3-0 in 2020 as a tag team, but it doesn't give overall as a team for the past. Like SCU, former champions. Frankie Kazarian 13-4. Scorpio Sky 14-5. 2020 tag team record 1-1. It has nothing of what they did in 2019 as a tag team. I think you would need that stat.
Well, I mean, it's all meaningless anyway, but as far as whether a guy is on the winning end or the losing end more is what I'm interested in, and just in terms of how they've been booked. What about the Young Bucks?
The Young Bucks 2020 tag team record 1-1. Overall, Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson both have 11 wins. Matt Jackson 6 losses, Nick Jackson 7 losses. Remember, he had that singles match with Phoenix, I think.
Yeah. And Felix kicked his ass.
And then Santana and Ortiz, the number 3 ranked contenders. They have an 0-1 record in 2020, and they are both overall 7-4.
Well, that's better actually than being 11-7 or whatever. To me, so, but, okay.
The number 4 ranked contenders in the tag team division are the Dark Order. Evil Uno and Stu Grayson both have a 5-2 record.
So you're telling me that the overall the best record percentage-wise, well, maybe SCU was around there somewhere, but the best record percentage-wise is the Job Order. They've only done 2 jobs.
They've only done 2 jobs, yeah. Actually, I hadn't thought of that, yeah. And then closing out the top 5 tag team rankings, I guess I'm now seeing why it's not a top 10. The Best Friends with an overall, well, not an overall, but a 2020 tag team record of 1-1. And then Trent, formerly having a last name, but now just Trent.
The talented member of the group.
He's good. He is talented.
Yeah.
Overall 7-11.
Oh, God.
And Chuck Taylor, overall 6-8.
The 6 had to be forfeits because Chuck Taylor couldn't whip cream with an outboard motor. But, well, see, that anybody that wants to can just look right up and see why none of these people are stars. Good for them. But yeah, that's all the things that's wrong with doing that for everybody, because you can't do that for everybody. You do that for your winners. You talk about the champion being undefeated. You talk about the guy you're pushing being undefeated or on a win streak or whatever. You don't give everybody's record, because then most of your roster looks like a bunch of fucking dicks. And that's what most of their roster looks like, whether they can work or not, because of the way they're presented. Because they're assuming that everybody's over from the start, and only with the fucking obsessive-minded people that have been following these fucking pricks since the start are these people already over as far as goddamn a national audience. So sorry.